Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Love is in the Air, a.k.a. Love is on the Air, a.k.a. The Neighborhood, and you're listening to the first podcast of the year, so consider yourself lucky. This is not a teaser. This is not fake. This is not a 15-second clip. We live, baby. It's going down. And I put out a teaser last week, and honestly, there's no way I could do this alone. So I got two Arkansas legends that are going to help me talk about the legendary singer, songwriter, actor, multi-instrumentalist. This guy did everything. We're talking about the legend himself, Prince. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. And like I told you before, like I said, I got two Arkansas legends. There was no way I could do this thing alone. And right now, I'm going to make sure I get this right. I'm going to introduce these guys. And first, this guy just got a promotion. I got to make sure I get this title right. Video coordinator, a.k.a. super. I say super special assistant to the head coach. My guy, Jeff the Brass Brazil, baby. What's up, JB?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm great.
Excited to be here.
Oh, good. And, of course, the legendary coach himself, the Mike Neighbors.
Special assistant to Jeff Brazil.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Is Coach Neighbors still there?
Yeah. That was funny.
Well, like I said before, I had to be honest. There was no way I could talk about this guy alone. No way. It was just way before me, Coach Neighbors, as you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. You're younger than me. I got it.
Way younger. I'm not saying
Loud
that
and
you're
clear.
old.
No.
But I'm telling
now
you.
Did. Now you did.
Well, let me tell you. Let me just give you my first Prince story.
Okay.
So obviously, this guy has been making music well before I was born, and probably in the late '90s is when I heard of him, but I didn't really listen to his music.
Yeah.
We were more of a Michael Jackson crew growing up.
Okay.
I mean, everybody wanted to moonwalk across the sidewalk. Everybody wanted to wear the sparkly glove, and everybody literally wanted to say hee hee. That was like the thing.
Yeah.
And so I never really understood Prince at all.
Yeah.
And and I remember a time my mom used to prance around the house to his music, and I was just like, who is this guy? And he's so short, and he's wearing high heels. Like, I never, ever understood it. And Jeff, I know you're kind of a Prince fan yourself. What can you really say about him?
Well, I mean, I just think he's very talented, and I was kind of with you. Like, I was more of a Michael fan, but then I turned to Prince because the first time I wanted to watch Prince, and I'd heard Purple Rain on the radio, and I was probably 7 or 8 years old, something like that. And we went, and my mom and stepdad were having friends over to play cards, and so we went and rented movies, and we rented laser. It was a laser disc, and we rented the laser player. Yeah. And so we brought, and I picked Purple Rain, and my mom must not have looked, and Purple Rain was rated R. It was rated R. And so they go in there and start playing cards, and we put in Purple Rain, and they're my friends, the children of the people that were there in there watching it. This scene comes on, and my mom walks by and turns it off, and turns it off. So Prince really helped me learn one of life's first lessons: is don't throw a fit when company is over. Because I threw like a big fit, and like that, you don't do that when company's over.
That sounds like a butt whooping.
That was a whooping coming.
Oh yeah. So that was like my first experience with Purple Rain, but I think he's super talented.
Oh, I agree. Well, Coach Neighbors, back to you. I didn't know how big of a Prince friend you were until we went to your house, and we were moving things in this room, and I looked. I was like, Prince has his own room in his house.
Shrine.
Like, what is going on? Yeah. And honestly, let me give you this. I got Coach Neighbors a gift that I have yet There's no way I can get him another gift that's gonna like wow him.
Good luck. Try. You can keep trying.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
the fact that you keep trying to top it. Yeah, you're welcome to keep trying.
There's no way I could top that. I got, and I'll post a picture of it, but I got him a custom pair of Prince Air Force Ones, and I'm telling you right now, one of one.
Yeah. No, they're
like, I can't. There's no way I can top it. But just one question that I got, and all the other people like, why Prince?
Yeah. Yeah, I get that a lot. And he didn't start out my number one guy. It's been an evolution or a revolution, since we're talking about Prince, work that in there. He, I think like y'all were talking about, we all come through our musical loves through an experience. A lot of times with family, you both mentioned family. Mine is too. I had older brothers and an uncle that were about the same age, and you were talking about Michael Jackson fans. Well, these guys are, Zeppelin and Skinnerd and, the rock and roll type deal. Well, I remember very vividly, it was 1979. I was about 10, and they flipped on this new person, like you said. And back then, we, no MTV, no TV. Maybe you got to see the Midnight Special, but none of that stuff existed. So the album covers were all you saw. And he had this album cover, and like you said, here was this androgynous looking, wearing high heels, wearing vibrant colors, wearing, chaps with, no butt cheeks. And, Greenwood, Arkansas in 1979, folks, this was not, this wasn't your mainstream deal, but they put on Want to Be Your Lover. And I thought, this sound is so different than, obviously what we'd been listening to was Skinnerd and Molly Hatchet and Foghat and Zeppelin and all these people. And I was like, man, this is more me. They were older than me, and I was like, this is different. Yeah, Michael Jackson was around. I liked him. I appreciated him. I tried to moonwalk. I tried to break dance and do all those things. I just didn't have the skills. But there was just something different about Prince. Well, and I think, too, for me in Greenwood, Arkansas, one of the reasons I wanted to like him was because my parents didn't want me to like him.
That's kind of the way my
they didn't. They were like, you can't listen to that. Well, that makes you want to listen to it even more.
Absolutely.
And if you go back through, Prince's catalog at the first, some of that stuff, he was really one of the first people who, were part of these explicit lyrics being put on album covers, because some of his music it's not even, you don't even have to try to figure it out. It's just, it's
Nikki
right.
Darling
It's Darling Nikki. That's off that. But way back to some that we can't even say on a podcast probably.
Absolutely.
It's just straight in your face, I don't care type stuff. But that was the immediate draw, was that, and that got it started, and then it was a slow burn from there. Then 3 years later, on a bus, we're driving to a basketball game, and somebody pops in 1999. It came out in 82.
Yeah.
And we all thought 1999 was so far along, and we're going to be partying like it's 1999. And, then you start to get MTV coming along, and you get MTV, and when MTV hits, it changed. Now you see what you've been listening to, and you're just completely drawn to this person who obviously is different and is okay being different. And it made, I think I was a little different, in my own ways. And it was like, okay, this guy does things different. I'm going to keep following him. Then Purple Rain hit, 84, which I still claim is the best time of the world to be alive. Y'all were a little younger. I still think it's the best. Movies, music, the explosion, the way technology was starting to catch up. When Purple Rain came out, and you got to see it, and Jeff, you talk about the scenes. I think I saw it. I just estimate 50 times in the theater. It was during the time when I'm 15 years old. I can't drive. I'm still dependent upon my mom. I'd drive to work with her. She'd drop me at the movie theater, the mall. I'd buy a $3 ticket. I'd go in to see some other movie, and I'd sneak in Purple Rain. I'd sit till she came and pick me up.
That trick.
Oh, yeah. We've all pulled that trick off. I think the movie theaters knew it. That was a daycare center. But they got us on the popcorn and the juju beans. But just seeing, him on the big screen, tied to the music, and all you're doing is really still at that point in time, it's just all about the music.
Sure.
All about the music.
He could do it all. Like, he was dancing. He could play the guitar. He was just very versatile.
And he plays a lot of his own instruments, and then you start to dig. That's when you start. Again, at this point in time, if you'd asked me in 1984 my favorites, I'm still probably going to say Hall & Oates or Journey, or I might even slip in an Air Supply there on a couple of mixtapes or something. But he still is not number one in my book. I still haven't, and again, partly of it's because of the prison of geography.
Yeah.
I was a prisoner of being in Greenwood, Arkansas.
Sure.
Where I didn't have a black classmate. Let that sink in. I graduated in 1987, and I never had a black classmate. Not one, P. It was college. So here I am in Greenwood, Arkansas, loving Prince, loving his music, being told I shouldn't be. Oh, he's dirty, he's this, he's got explicit lyrics. Don't be listening to, like you said, a whooping coming.
Oh yeah.
And
you had
it was
sneak around if you wanted to do that.
You had to sneak around, and we didn't have platform sharing music. You had to have somebody that had the. I remember going to Sound Warehouse and buying the double, and it was a double disc. So I'd been saving $8.99. That's how much albums cost back then. You go Sound Warehouse, and for $8.99 you could get the full album. Well, I went fully prepared to buy it. But it was a double album. The 1999 came out as a double album. It cost $13.99.
Wow.
So I had to bum $5.
Absolutely. I've been standing outside like, come on, let's get some donations going.
Yeah.
So, and I've been here going into my fifth year here at Arkansas, and we literally rank everything.
We do.
Everything.
We do rank everything.
Why do we do that?
We rank everything because I want the people that are listening to us to know that we're telling the truth. I want them to know that we have thought it through. I have put Prince side by side with Michael Jackson, side by side with Def Leppard, side by side with Journey, side by side with Garth Brooks, George Strait, whoever you want else. I've put him there, and he has risen to the top because of all that I've learned about him and all that I've researched and the experiences. I'm going to give you remind me to tell you the reason he went to number one over some of these other people in the past. But the reason we rank him is because I want people to know when I say Prince is my number one guy, I'm not just saying it to be a part of that particular conversation.
Sure.
And if somebody wants to call, I can't go to another conversation next week and say, oh yeah, Garth Brooks is my favorite. Because everybody's going to go, well, I thought you said on that podcast with Pauline and Braz that you love Prince. Well, I did. Yeah. I want people to know when we rank something, we've thought about it. We've set it out. We've compared it to others. We've had discussion about it. We've weighed the evidence. And again, I'm not telling you Prince is the greatest musician of all time, although he's got to be in the conversation.
100%.
I'm telling you, he's my favorite. And you can have your favorite, and I will respect yours and yours favorite. But I want you to have an answer. I don't want you to be wishy-washy. I don't want it to be whoever happens to be pertinent to the conversation that you're in.
Absolutely.
So that's why, and again, it's been a steady deal the more I've learned about him. And I'll tell you right now, when he went to number one, it was in 2016.
Yeah.
I had seen him. I got to see him in Seattle in 2013 when we first moved to Seattle. And it was at the Showbox Theater, and it's a small venue, about 1,100 people. And that night, he did 4 shows, and I must have got lucky and saw the show that nobody could get to, because I don't think there were more than 500 people there. And it's him and his guitar sitting in a chair playing in the round, and very limited backgrounds. He had Sheila E. on drums, and he'd bring a few other people in, all the other people he influenced. So to see him in an intimate setting like that, he got up there to the top. He was really, really close. Well, then 2016, he dies in April. Okay, so he dies in April of 2016, and I'm at Washington. We'd just gone to the Final Four. Literally 2 weeks before that, in April, the early part of April. He died end of April. So that year goes by. Well, that next December, I'm recruiting, and again, this is how small this world is. I'm recruiting Destiny Oberg.
Wow.
Who's on our roster here now.
Yeah.
But I'm at Washington, and she's in Minneapolis, and we're recruiting her. We heard about her, so I go to watch her play. Fly in there the night before because of the way the flights work. You get in there early. So I got some time to kill. So Paisley Park had just opened as a tour museum.
Yeah.
So get to go and visit Paisley Park. And one of the first expanded tours. They'd been open since the early part of the summer, but they had just expanded these new rooms, the vault. You could go to his recording studio. You could play ping pong on his ping pong table. There's all these add-ons. It was like $20 to get in, but if you wanted to hit some ping pong shots, it was an extra $20. If you want to sing in the microphone, which was happening that day, I was the third person to ever sing in that microphone.
So who's the first two?
Lionel Richie and Prince. I'm 3.
You got Lionel Richie, Prince,
and me,
and Mike Neighbors.
And me. Yeah, that's going to win you a bar bet.
100%.
That'll win you a bar bet. So anyway, long story short, we go on this whole tour, and I'm really enamored, but it didn't go to number one until the person who was giving us the tour was like one of his right hands. That's how he continued, in part of his will, he continued to employ people in his orbit. That's a Prince word. We use that a lot around. You hear me say orbit. People in our orbit, that's a Prince word. So in his orbit, he gave those people lifetime jobs working at Paisley Park as tours and to keep their livelihood going. So she was really, really close to Prince. Well, here I am decked out in purple, right? Because I'm at Washington.
Yeah. I
got on purple sweats. I got on purple Nike Air Force One. I got stuff. I'm purpled out. And it didn't dawn on her. Well, we're standing down there in the little rec room area where the ping pong table and everything's at. And there's, a TV back in there. And, he's a huge basketball fan.
Yeah.
Huge, massive, and he's good. He can play. I mean, we've all seen the Dave Pichelle.
Actually, when I was looking stuff up, that was his first love.
He loved basketball. He loved hoops. So this is when he became number one. She said, wait a second. She goes, Washington. She goes, the Huskies? I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, we watched y'all play right there. I said, wait. Well, I mean, my jaw dropped, hit the floor. I said, what are you talking about? She goes, weren't y'all in the Final Four? Didn't y'all have a player on your team that shot flat-footed threes? Talking about Chantel.
Oh,
and I said,
smokes.
yeah, we did. She said, yeah, we sat right there and watched y'all play in the Final Four. He was infatuated. Went down and we were imitating her shot in the back gym and the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
I could have died.
Wow.
I could have died.
Wow.
I mean, that's when Prince went from, he passed Journey, he passed Def Leppard, he passed George Strait, he passed
100%.
George Jones, Garth Brooks, all those other people, because Prince watched us play basketball. And, that whole experience, and that's what he was all about. And then from that point on, that's when I wanted to dive deeper. I wanted to figure out why it was Prince. And that's when I really started to do a deep dive into, what made him what he was.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's what makes that's why he's number one, because you're starting to have like a connection to him, and that's how people get their number ones.
You get your number one because of the connections, and we say it all the time, and we use it with our players. It's how we make people feel. It's not the words, the deeds, the things. It's how you make people feel, and that's what even though he's the one person I never physically met. Maybe I'm glad. Maybe people always say don't meet your idols, or
absolutely.
But because of it, you get connected, and you start researching, and you find out why he changed his name to the Symbol. Like I didn't know. I thought it was like, man, what's he doing? Well, come to find out what he was doing, he was fighting Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, I read about something. Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, well, Warner Brothers owned the name. They owned the rights to the name Prince, and they were wanting to start doing all this streaming, which took money away from people. So he fought YouTube, he fought eBay for years. Yeah. He fought iTunes. You couldn't get a Prince song on iTunes for a long time until after he died.
Yeah.
Then they've released, now there's thousands and thousands of new songs that, his music will live on because
he's like influenced a lot of people, like how you're talking about how he wants to take care of his orbit, and he had like people that went on to have other successful careers, like Sheila E. Right? And like what Morris, the
time, absolutely.
With him and
he wrote Jungle Love. I mean, he wrote Sinead O'Connor's number one hit. Nothing Compares to You. He actually performed it back then. He wrote Manic Monday for the Bengals.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow.
A lot of people don't realize Stevie Nicks' song Stand Back. She wrote the lyrics, but she was listening to some versions of his song and called him, and he came over, and before you know it. But yeah, I mean, there is Sheila E., Apollonia Vanity 6. Alicia Keys has done a cover of some of his songs.
He just had a big influence, like some of our guys, like Texas guys, have done Reckless Kelly, does Purple Rain. A lot of people, Adam
Jason
Hood,
Boland. Jason Boland does a good version of
it. YouTube if anybody wants to. Those things. Those are some, so he doesn't.
Absolutely. So I just got one question.
You got two questions. You already asked me one.
Oh, I got another one.
Okay,
I got another one.
Right.
So we're talking about Prince and your love for him. This is important now. Can anyone take the place of your man?
You see what she did there? That's good. Take the place of your man. That's a great Prince song. One of my favorites. Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, I hope somebody does, because that means somebody's really impacted me and made a powerful deal, but not after everything I've learned, not after how he stood up for the music industry, his own music, his own preservation, how he promoted women. That was another thing that I really as a basketball coach that chooses, to coach the women's sport, and I was raised by women. I'm not where I'm at without the influences and the things taught to me by strong women in my life. So the fact that he had a lead guitarist and his, lead keyboards and songwriters were women in a time when that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
This was again back in the time when it wasn't a thing to do that. I'm not sure he can. I mean, the way he influences, the way he treated, and he probably, a lot of people are going to, say, well, what about somebody who, had a drug dependency and things like that? Yeah, okay. None of us are perfect.
Absolutely not.
So he never did anything, and I've read as much stuff as I can get my hands on. I'm not sure everybody can take the place of my man. I mean, I'd like to, maybe something happens. I'm not telling you that I won't give people a shot, but man, it's going to take a lot to top him. Not like you said, not only just his talents, but his influences and the way he went about doing it. The way he made other people's lives better. And all you have to do is tour Paisley Park or get into some of his books. I brought this one in here. You told me to hold it up to that camera right
hold
there.
It up.
If you're going to get one, this is the one I think that he probably most contributed to. A lot of people have written stories about him because they were around him, but he actually sat down with the authors. The author of this one's Dan Poppenbring. And it's very well written. The first 200 pages, any leader, anybody that's around people and trying to connect to relationships, I mean, it almost reads like a how-to business type leadership book as much as anything. And then the last part's biographical, which if you don't like Prince, you don't have to read it. But, I think in the new music we're getting.
Oh, absolutely.
I sat around. I think he's number 2 on most songs in my catalog. Got over 1,000 different songs. Garth's going to be number 1, I think, just because I think there was probably more out there. But I have over 1,000 versions.
So it was true that he had a vault.
Oh yeah, no,
that was filled with music. He just kept making music and putting it away.
Yeah, I was in it. I got to sit in. I got to walk through it. I got to see the piles and piles of musical. Music sheets and reel to reels, and I mean, you're talking about the originals, the masters. They
just
call
record all the time.
Recorded all the time, and there's some of them. They're out there now. I mean, a lot of people will go back and try to find they would tell you "Crystal Ball" is one of his most famous unreleased songs, and it's different now. You got to really be a musical fan to appreciate it. 11, 12 minutes long, but
sure.
I'll be listening to Moonbeam Levels, which is a great. I think it should have. I mean, if it would have been released at a different time, probably it was a hit. But it's new Prince music. How can you have new Prince music? Well, he's got now the rights they're fighting over. I don't know how often we're who's got the rights to them and who's going to release them, but we're going to have Prince music for new Prince music, and he went through some phases where it's all different. It's not Purple Rain, but it's also not back to the 1970s when we all get in trouble for listening to it.
Absolutely.
He made the Batman album.
Yeah.
I mean, Party Man, that's one
of yeah.
I mean, he was the soundtrack of the Batman album, which was huge.
Massive. Yeah, and influenced some of the colors and the characters when they were doing some of those scenes in the Bat Dance scene. Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
No, he's won a Grammy, he's won an Oscar. A lot of people can say those two things, and that's what makes him cool. But to me, it's those other things that he's done, the way he's helped people, the way he's done, the way the fights that he's had, the way he stood up for being different. He was way different than
I watched. This is my favorite line, one of my favorite lines, because he is the king of shade, the king of shade.
Yeah.
But he was doing this interview, and someone asked him, why high heels?
Yeah.
Well, he cut his eye and he looked. He said, because women like them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that is a genius. Why not? And I'm thinking in my head, he wore high heels because he's 5'3" guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. It's because women like them.
That's right. No, and if you go visit, I mean, they're this big.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a tiny in stature.
Yeah.
But you hear stories, we're in the basketball world, when the Minnesota Lynx won the world championship in the WNBA, he invited them all over to Paisley Park and gave them a private show. He did that
Wow.
all the time. I've
Wow.
got a copy of that night. They did a little recording. I got a copy of that from some people, and it's up there in the shrine.
Yeah.
It's next to the Air Force Ones. And the ones you got for Bowen too.
Yeah,
The Air Force Ones for Bowen are sitting up there. But he just would do that. And in the stories, the Dave Chappelle story's real. I mean, that's not
Eddie
made
Murphy.
up. That's real. And there's
Wow.
if you listen to the Jimmy Fallon one about ping pong, he showed up and played Jimmy Fallon in ping pong, and he was who he was all the time.
All the time.
Very competitive.
Oh, very, very
competitive. Between him and Michael too, like different things that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a little beef between that, but it wasn't. I mean,
No, it just
wasn't anything crazy like it is today. But
yeah, if there's people listening to this that that want to be influenced or want to go someplace, that go to the YouTube. He has since not fought YouTube. He understands now, the people around him, how valuable of a tool that is to promote and keep his name alive. But just type in Webster's Hall Prince, and it's him and his guitar performing some songs, and that will just show you the musical capabilities and the genius that he was, and the way he captivates and commands a crowd. And there's all kinds. Obviously, there's sometimes in death you become more popular. People will want to talk about you and write about you shortly after you die. And we're still, even though we're now 6 years out, I think we've covered it. I don't think we're going to hear new stuff, but you hear it from different people's perspective, and you hear how he did impact, and the long lasting and the longevity, how it's lasted. And I think it's up to people like us, to keep this new generation. I know my two older kids, Abby loves Prince, and Bowen will, whether he likes it or not. And Barrett, they're just by osmosis going to get.
Hey, I can see Bowen liking a little Prince. He moves those hips and he get it going.
Yeah, he's got to get it timed up.
He's young. He has time. He has time.
I went as Prince to a Halloween party one time. I'm not sure we can find pictures of that. Thankfully
dig deep.
Thankfully did video. That was one time I'm kind of probably glad video cameras did not come out. Didn't have video cameras then. But
the good thing is, consider yourself lucky, guys, because we have an audio clip of Nape singing over the Prince mic. So this is about to be epic.
I want to tell you first and foremost, I can't sing.
I heard it. He's actually pretty good. I just want y'all to know he's pretty good.
No, if I could, I would. Believe me. If I could sing, if I could even get remotely close, if auto-tune could help me, I'd have every resource available to help me, because I would love to do that. But I don't have a good voice. Even in the shower, I know it's bad. But on that tour, we're on that tour, and they're offering us all these. Hey, there was only 4 of us on the VIP tour, and they're like, hey, for an extra $25, you can play ping pong, and for an extra $50, and they said, hey, but for $150, you can sing in his microphone. And like, we're standing over there, and I'm like going, I'm not even going to sing in front of these 3 people who I don't know, and I'm never ever going to see again in my life. And then I went, wait a second, I'm never ever going to see these people again in my life. Who cares how bad? I'm going to have this memory. And they were like, well, this is our first time we've done it, and only 2 other people have sung in that microphone. It was Lionel Richie and Prince. And I'm like, I'm the third. I want to be the third. So I jumped up there, and they said, well, we've got, they became a thing now. A lot of people have done it since, but they give you a choice of 4 or 5 songs, and they were like, how about Raspberry Beret is one of my favorites. It's up there near toward the top. And I said, let's hit it. And I gave it all I had, P, and I shared it with you, but it took every ounce of, when I heard you were doing this podcast, I said, because of how much I love you and how much I care for you, you can be the first.
That.
This will be.
I like that.
This will be the. I'm not sure anybody else has ever heard me sing out loud, but I have shared it with you. You can use it however you want, and hope nobody expects it. The Prince quality of vocals. That is.
Listen, it's pretty good though. That's all I'm saying. It's
Auto-tune.
pretty good.
Thanks, Auto-Tune. Thanks, T-Pain. I don't want T-Pain to go around the rest of his life being ridiculed for using it. I had a lot of help with. I don't know how many different knobs they had to twist to get it to sound halfway decent, but it took them a minute.
Well, it's pretty good in my book. That's what I think. Anyway,
it was fun.
Yep. But so you think the best resource to find out more about Prince and his music is probably YouTube, or do you have?
Yeah, I mean, for videos and stuff like that. But Google, library card. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff out there, but it's. I do think you could find what you're looking for on any of those 2 places. But I'd recommend this. I've read probably 25 or 30 books from different people, and I'd put the beautiful ones up there with I think it's the best by far. Not only in telling the story, because it's his words.
Yeah,
it's his words to this, and it was late. It was late in toward, and he died actually as they were writing this book. That's why they had to cut it off. It was he was really opening up about a lot of things. He was obviously in a very dark place, to do, and that was really surreal about the whole Paisley Park tour too. I mean, you see the elevator, you're there, and it's, if anybody you don't even have to be Prince doesn't even have to be in your top 100. If you're in Minneapolis, that's why I'm fired up. The Final Four is there.
Absolutely, you should be, as you should.
And going to see the places where he, grew up playing, and the scenes. A lot of the scenes from Purple Rain were shot right there. I have been to the waters of Lake Minnetonka, Jeff. Don't think I haven't. Don't think I haven't been to there. That's one of the first places I was like, hey, where's Lake Minnetonka at? We've all been there. We've all been there. But no, it's. And again, if y'all are ever around me and you ask me to pray, you're probably going to get dearly beloved. We are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. Electric word, life. It means forever. That's a mighty long time, but I'm here to tell you, P, there's something else. That song. That was my first song that everybody would like. Like if I had to karaoke, which I'll never do, it would probably be it, because there's a lot of crazy words in that, and I sat down and figured out to the best that I could. So we didn't have Shazam back then in the 80s to go, Shazam, or you didn't have lyrics.com, and not everybody was even putting the lyrics on album sheets yet. I mean, that didn't become, it started back in the 60s, but it didn't become a thing till the late 80s. Hair bands kind of started that. So I sat down and wrote out the words to Let's Go Crazy. And, I remember the only part I never did get, look for the purple banana until they put us in the truck, which, let's go crazy. We're going to do it till we go crazy. I don't even remember what I wrote down, but it took lyrics.com to come out. I had some misheard lyrics in there, but it was about the effort.
It's always good for like a misheard lyric.
It's always good for a misheard. Carl Amaro, if you're listening to this, the misheard lyrics I heard you singing in our office at Colorado one time. And we'll never, ever forget the laughter, the bellyache laughter I had on the what you thought Let's Go Crazy was saying, but I'm not going to put her under the bus on our podcast. Don't. She made too many threes for us back in the day. We'll let her go.
Well, good. Well, guys, I really appreciate you joining me today and help me really understand the legendary guy himself, Prince. Nabes, I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. No, it's we will continue this discussion off the air, but we'll see. If anybody ever tops him, we'll have to do another podcast follow-up. But, until then, I think we can all have a little bit of Prince in us, and treat people, because like you said, you think about your first impression of him. I think about my first impression of him. I think about, people that didn't know one single thing about the man, making an opinion about what he wore or wearing heels or how his hair was or what he sang about. They had no clue who he was and what he had been through and his circumstances. So, I think if we can all have a little bit more of the beautiful one in us and really care about the people in our orbits, we've all got a chance to do better at whatever we're trying to be.
Absolutely. JB, thank you for joining us.
Hey, happy to be here.
All right. Appreciate you, boys.
Yeah, nice setup you got in here. I mean, I don't think anybody appreciates how.
It's big time.
I mean, how.
Nabes gave me a budget. I probably went over that budget.
Really close.
But really close. Hey, we got it done.
This is very professional. Very job well done and very good use of our budget in many, many ways.
Absolutely. Appreciate you.
You bet.
Thanks,
all right. Perfect.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. She wore a raspberry beret, the kind you find in a second-hand store. Raspberry beret. If it was warm, she wouldn't wear much more. Raspberry beret. I think I love her.